Today we're going to make a shear scraper. We're going to use this 25 by 6 by 200 millimeter bar of high-speed steel. We're going to repurpose an old Robert Sorby thread chasing handle. Didn't work well for thread chasing, but it should work well for this shear scraper for the outside of bowls. For a ferrule, I'm going to use this. You wonder where that came from? It came from an old bearing outer race like this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark the profile, and we're going to cut this. This is take a bit of grinding, so we're going to save some time by cutting this with a angle grinder. We're going to cut the tang with an angle grinder as well. Okay, I put on my safety glasses. I'm going to put on some gloves to protect against the sparks. I'm going to shove a few tools away on my crowded, messy workbench. I'm going to use this angle grinder with a metal cutting wheel to cut off this at about a 45-degree angle. So let's get started. There we are, smoking hot. So next, we're going to cut the tang similarly. And you nibble away a few pieces and a pair of pliers when you get real close, because this is brittle. You got some leverage, it should just snap right off. I'm going to set my grinder platform to about 90 degrees. And I'm using a 180 grit wheel because it's got square corners. Be able to easily get in there and do this cleanup. There's not a whole lot of grinding necessary. Okay, because this is a lot thicker than that one, I need to whack off some of the end of this, so I'm going to mark where that is, where it touches. And then I know that's going to be the top. And then I just need to come behind that by the width of this ferrule. And that'll be where I'm cutting right there. And I'm going to use this little V to make it safe to cut. Just going to slip that in my pocket. Turn on the dust collector. I'm going to turn the handle, and it turns out I just clamp it down on this chuck, and I want to drill the hole first for a 1/2 inch hole, but it looks like the original hole is off a little bit, so I'm using this center finder and see if I can't do a better job of locating the center than Robert Sorby did. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue a little piece of wood on there that I can mark center with. And this little square right here, I determine what center is. Looks like center's off just a little bit closer to here. So I'm just going to put a little CA glue and mount this with the squares being equal distant and use this to center the drill. So with my 35 millimeter jaws, and I use my 60-degree cone to kind of center this on that little hole that I held. This is a little scrap that I used to use the center without damaging the wood. And I had a little scrap, already had a hole drilled in it, so that allowed it to be centered. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit larger, or a little bit smaller drill bit than the final one in order to center it on this hole. And I've already got this marked the appropriate length. I already had this tape on there that was just the right size, so I'm going to use this rather than the marking here. And we're going to keep it a fairly slow speed. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the final size, a 1/2 inch. Now I drill it again with a 1/2 inch. Alright, now I'm going to turn this down to fit this ferrule, so I fit this with some calipers just a little bit larger. I'm going to go ahead and bring in a 60-degree cone. We got to get rid of this scrap wood, and we're going to mark exactly where the ferrule is, and it turns out it's right on this line, so on the original design, so I don't have to worry about that. And now let's get the speed up a little bit. And take some of this down. I think I'm going to use a thin parting tool to part this little disc off. And then bring up tailstock again. Okay. I can go ahead and bring that tailstock back up. And again, we're going to bring that right to that line, and I'm going to use that beating and parting tool to just part down, and I'm going to start with the end and then bring the rest of it down. It's getting a little dull, I think. Let me go sharpen it. I think I've got a pretty close friction fit here, so we're going to hammer it on. I'm going to put another ring so I can definitely drive it all the way down. I'm just going to use a mallet and figure out how to get that other ring off. Let's see here. I'll wrestle that off the pair of pliers. So now I put it back on the lathe, and I'm going to just bring this around this edge over to the ferrule. I'm going to use a 3/8 inch spindle gouge for that. I think I'm going to round over this tip just a little bit. Okay, and I think I'll just polish that up with just a little bit of sandpaper. See what grit this is. 180 grit. Yeah, that's close enough. Yeah, I think that'll do it. Alright, so I think this thing will just wedge down in there. I'm going to look at the grain orientation so I can have something a little more attractive pattern on one side or the other and get this squared up. So this is going to go in right here, just like that. And now I'm just going to turn around and smack it on the bottom. And I think that's got it. I think that'll hold it. I'll probably turn a dowel maybe and put a little pin on each side, or I'll put a little epoxy in there if it gets loose. Now I've got to go back. I've got to finish sharpening this on that side, and round over the edges just a little bit on a belt sander. So I've got to round this over so it'll slide along the tool rest easily. So I will round over the back, and I'll just caress this so it won't be quite so sharp. That was an 80 grit belt sander, so I'm going to polish it up a little bit with a little 240 where I rounded it over. Okay, let's see how it works as a bowl shear scraper. Bring it up on its side. Very nice shavings. Here's some I did earlier. Making tools can be very satisfying and as well as very economical. I've got a whole playlist on making tools. You can get this high-speed steel bar stock from Amazon. If you click on the affiliate links below, you can get to those links. Remember, y'all stay safe. Come on back here.